All right, so we are looking at collaborative Google Slides, which is my second favorite activity to do with students. My first favorite activity is have students respond in the private comments. And the reason why I like that is because it's not a comment, it's a conversation, and I can do it a lot faster when I don't have to open any documents. I mean, I would rather hit myself in the head with a brick than open up 30 Google Docs for reals. In fact, I like to say, don't use Google Docs. You got to scroll those. Like that's not fun at all. Like, and it's just not as much fun. If you use Google Slides, at least it's multimedia. Other advantages to using Google Slides over Google Docs. Let's say I assign kids to do 10 problems. They can do each problem on its own slide, like its own piece of paper. And then they can link me, like question number 7, the link at the top of slide 7, they copy that, paste it wherever it is that I have them turn in. I have them do it in the private comments of Google Classroom, but you might have them do it in a Google form or whatever platform you use, right? When I click on that, it opens up right to number 7. No scrolling. Yes. When I'm trying to give kids feedback, you know, I have them do the 10 questions on 10 different slides. Then I'm like, this one, you're not doing right. I copy the link to that slide and I paste it back to them as feedback. And I add my own slide that I use for feedback. So I have as much room as I want. And again, it's multimedia, so I can put in pictures or video or whatever on my feedback slide. So for all of these reasons, I say, don't use Google Docs. If you need to, use Google Slides. And even better is, can't we just be on the same Google Slides? Like, you know, I'd rather hit myself in the head than open up 30 Google Docs. So open up 30 Google Slides isn't that much better, other than the fact that it is multimedia. So I would just rather not. I'd rather open one. One sounds better than all I'm saying. Hey, Kristen.
Hey, Alice, how are you?
Yeah, I'm excellent. Doing much better. My extrovert side's coming out right now. I got Donna, and she's chatting with me for a little bit, and I'm feeling a little perkier now. I took a little nap, so now I'm feeling good. So anyway, I'm just trying to convince you that it is better to have 1 than 30, and just like it is not a natural skill for kids to line up quietly at the door and walk to the library, and we don't give up sending kids to the library. We remind them how to act politely and not poke each other in line, and we basically do the same thing when we do collaborative Google Slides. So when I say collaborative Google Slides, what I'm really talking about is you and the students being on the same slides, that you give them edit access to your slides. Did that sound stressful? It's okay. It's okay. Yes, they will act like kids. Someone will draw a penis. I only say that because that's happened to me, right? If you give them an option to use a number, the number will be 69. Of course. You just got to laugh a little because they teach kids. What are you going to do? Okay. But I get to see everybody working at the same time. That's a huge advantage. And it never gets old, is seeing everybody work like they're working. I can give feedback while they're working much easier when we're all on the exact same slides. It's you and the students on the same slides having edit access. That's what collaborative Google Slides is. It could be groups of students collaborating, but the big idea is you're collaborating with the class, right? Okay, then my bread and butter here is add a slide and put your name in the speaker notes, because they can. Whatever you do, you're always doing it. If you put their name on it once, this is now your job forever. And I don't know about you, but I just need a few less things to do. I just need to go to work and just go and not be stressed out and have like, oh, I forgot to make all this stuff. Okay, tone it down. Like, you don't need to make a lot of stuff. Student engagement doesn't come because you got something from Teachers Pay Teachers with cool clip art. By the way, you have cool clip art at your fingertips all the time. Just use your Bitmoji Chrome extension. Look at this. I got this right here. I got my Bitmoji Chrome extension. Here we go. Come on, load it up, baby. It's going to be like, look how fast this is. And now it's not loading at all. It's trying to spite me. There we go. Here it is, right? I literally just click on the Bitmoji Chrome extension and I drag my Bitmoji right on the slides. So what I do is I don't plan them in advance. I let them be blank. I let the student engagement come not from the clipper, I let the student engagement come from students being actively engaged, that I ask them things and they get to do it, they get quick feedback that we can share and discuss together, because the person doing the talking is the person doing the learning. And so if I can get them to put stuff on the slides and then I share what everyone's put and I get them to give the feedback and we talk about it now, I don't have paperwork to grade later. And that's not always the situation that you're doing it that way, but it's certainly one way. The other thing I like to do is when we're using collaborative Google Slides, I drag my Bitmoji onto the student slides while they're working. So I'm getting that quicker feedback. When I'm engaged with them, they're more engaged with me. If they do something, think they're done. I mean, as soon as a kid hits the turn in button, they like, shut off, like, I'm done. Stop talking to me about it. I'm done. No, I'm done. Right? You want them to keep caring about it. You can't let them think they're done. So if I'm able to be in the slides with them while they're working on it, I'm dragging my Bitmoji, they notice I'm interacting on it with them. That's one way to, there's no magic bullets for student engagement, y'all. There's none, but it does help. It does help for them to think that you're paying attention. And it is kind of fun just to throw your Bitmoji on there, right? So I have them add a slide, they put their name in the speaker notes, and then I have them take their slide, I say, do Control-L, highlight the URL, Control-C, copy. Control-L, highlight the URL, Control-C, copy. So if they are on slide 12, they would copy the URL at the top of slide 12, and they would turn that in. That might be into the private comments of Google Classroom. It might be into a Google form or whatever platform and way that you have to collect things from kids. That's how they would submit that to you. I have them put their name in the speaker notes because then I can Control F and I look up Donna, Control F, Susie, and it jumps to their slide because I can Control F, find their name and get to where they did work in the slides. Can students see each other's slides? Yeah. That's the point. We're going to do this together. So I'm going to give you a couple options. Option one, don't care. No, I'm serious, right? Do you realize that they are taking pictures and sharing their work with each other anyway? When we did paper worksheets, we know one kid did it and everyone else copied it. So do an individual, right? That's true with paper. Just as true with digital and anything else. The internet did not invent cheating. So option one, you can't play whack-a-mole. You can't stress out over everything. I'm going to focus on what I can focus on. And if I'm giving feedback and I'm trying to engage and interact with kids, that's going to help me to help them to want to do their work, right? The other thing you do is you just try to ask the question in a way that necessitates they word it slightly differently. So I'm a math teacher. Instead of what's the answer, I say, what is your first step? What would something you could do differently than what I did so we can focus on number sense, so it forces them to think through the answer rather than just copy it down and use photo math. It's 2020. We just use some different methods of asking questions, or for reals, you guys, I don't care. I use a lot of quizzes, QUIZIZZ.com. Look, I'm not so ignorant to think that they're not Googling it and searching it up and like, well, you know, I gave them an assignment where they could do that. What do I expect? But then I'm going to want to do a collaborative Google Slides or something where I ask them to think and I can get feedback and I see if they really get it. So if they just Googled up my quizzes, well, I'm going to figure that out later, and I just weight the things that I can evaluate higher, right? I do what I can do, and I try not to stress over what I can't control. And right now, there's not a whole lot of things we can control. So my advice to you is just more hugs. We got this, right? So I have them add a slide, put the name in their speaker notes. I ask them to put something on the slide, and then they are going to turn in the link to their slide. So how do I make collaborative Google Slides? I got a few methods for you. Method number one, we just use the share icon. Just use the share icon. So you can see if the you know, it used to be blue, and then they changed all the colors, and they're flummoxing me here. It's now yellow. The yellow share icon in the upper right-hand corner, you'll notice it has a padlock. on it. That means it's private. So if I were to give you the link to these slides, I just go, Keeler, it says I don't have access. Keeler, I don't have access. I don't know, okay, I got you. Hold on, right? So I click the share button. And you see here it says restricted. And it's restricted to only people at your school. So I change it from restricted, not in the middle one's your school. Alice Keeler's my teacher account, school account. I'm going to switch it to anyone with the link. Now, if you want to restrict it to just students, you might want to choose this middle option that it's anyone in your school, so they at least have to be a student. That's up to you. But what you want to do then is switch it from viewer to editor. Keeler, are you serious? I don't think this is a good idea. Look, it's a great idea. I'm going to show you why. I'm going to use the File menu, Version History. I'm going to name the current version template. When a kid draws a penis, I'm just going to put it right back to the template. I've changed this. You'll notice the icon no longer has a padlock on it. The icon in the upper right now has like a little man with a link icon saying that we are collaborating and sharing. This is my second faves for real. I'm going to put this in the chat. Please join my Google Slides. Okay, if you would please add a slide and put your name in the speaker notes. Add your slide to the bottom. So you're going to click on the last slide. And then where the plus icon is, you're going to do the little drop down arrow so you can choose your layout. Now, this is a critical thinking task all in itself. Too often, we give students some sort of a graphic organizer, fill-in, worksheet, whatever, where they don't have to make any decisions on how they're going to create it. But the truth is, I don't know about you guys, but I make most of my stuff from scratch, right? I use a blank Google Doc, I use a blank slides, and I create my lessons, I create my activities. This is the life skill, is knowing how to clearly communicate your ideas from scratch. So I was teaching college students, and I'd ask them to make a Google Slides, and they would use yellow font. And they're not just college students. They're pre-service teachers. So they've graduated from college or about to, so they're in the teacher credential program. So they've got all elementary, all high school, and all college, and no one told them not to use yellow font. You know why? Because we gave them a template. We always give them a template. Like, here you go, it's using black font. So when we ask them to create from scratch, it's an opportunity to help them to clearly communicate what they're trying to communicate through some feedback. And you're like, I can't really read this. The font's too small. The font is yellow. This is too busy. And helping them to clearly communicate is an essential 20th century skill. Kids have to know how to communicate digitally and visually. Have to. Right? If you're going to own your own business, what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to set up a social media account. You're going to get a website. You have to be able to communicate your business. Otherwise, you ain't got any business. Thank you, Susie. Okay, so I'm going to come down here. If you would just add a slide. Okay, I see. Now look, this is not going to stress me out. I'm going to just pull you down to the bottom. So what I do is, especially the first times I do it with kids, I ask them to use a particular layout or to do these different things. Well, we're doing it together. It's feedback now, you guys. So we're going to practice that. We're going to add it at the end, and you're going to choose your own layout. Now, I asked some high school students if they would choose their own layout and write me a paragraph, and a whole bunch of them picked this one. I said to them, you're going to write a whole paragraph in that little box down there? And I'm like, I click on the little tiny triangle. And I said, which one of these layouts would better help you communicate writing a paragraph? Title and body. Oh, title and body. What a good idea. See how I'm helping them learn to be thinkers? Because I didn't give them a template. Now they have to think through what's the best way to communicate this information. To me, at that time, it was shocking. I'm like, what? Why would you pick caption? But then I realized that's not a natural skill. You're not born knowing which layout to pick. So when we do slides together and I have them design it from scratch, it's an opportunity to help them learn not only the content, but how to communicate what they know, because that's an important skill sometimes almost more than the actual content itself. For example, if I teach my kids how to factor trinomials by hand, I don't know about any of you, but I've never done that outside of school. I just have not. So their ability to communicate why it works would be more valuable than whether or not they can remember 3 years from now, 10 years from now, most likely 20 years from now when they're helping their kid do their homework, how to factor a trinomial, right? And so helping them to use Google Slides from scratch, collaborate together. What are the 21st century skills? Collaborate, that's one. Communicate ideas, that's two. Creativity, that's why I like Google Slides, guys. It's multimedia. I'm much more likely to have the kids respond in a creative way than if I use a Google Doc. More likely. I'm going to say that. And then critical thinking. Okay, the first three are almost free with Google Slides. Almost. Critical thinking is not really free with Google Slides. I have to ask a critical thinking question. But how do you teach kids to be critical thinkers without giving them feedback and them responding to the feedback? Well, that's hard. It's a lot easier if I have them add something in the slides. We do feedback now and they fix it now. And that's how I can teach them to be critical thinkers. It's one way. It's not the only way for sure. All right, so I add my slide. Whoops. And what you're trying to do is to get them to put their name down here in the speaker notes. So I'm going to put Alice Keeler. You'll notice you can also change the font down here. But if you could get your name in the speaker notes, you don't have to make it bigger. But we're going to put our response on the slide. We're going to put our response on the slide. And I'm going to do something really risky, my friends. On the slide, you're going to put your favorite number. I am asking for trouble. You're right. But what do you see? I won't get upset. So if you take your slide, your name is in the speaker notes, and the slide has your favorite number. Right? So now you see here on the side, I can see that you're working. Now, why are you a liger or a bat or the Kraken? Is because I shared this. I clicked the share button and I said, anyone can edit. So you're not signed in. And because you're not signed in, you don't show up as your name. So the way around that is instead of sharing it with anyone, I simply paste my roster up here. And I don't have to do it one at a time. If you have a spreadsheet of all your students' emails, you can just copy and paste the whole list of emails all at once, no commas needed. So that's method number one, is I can just share it with them like I would share if I was sharing with one person. I would just share it with everyone. Either copy and pasting everyone's emails into the share, or I just switch it to anyone can edit. The problem with anyone can edit is I don't know who drew the penis. Just saying. Just saying. It will happen. Realistic expectations is the key here, guys. It's the key. All right. All right, right? There's 100 places that we can put the link and share it with them. Susie, thank you for that. All right, so I'm going to Control F, and I'm going to type Susie, and I push Enter, and you see I've jumped to Susie's slide. I'm going to Control F and type Donna, and I'm going to jump to Donna's slide. So that's why I have them put the name in the speaker notes. Then I know whose slide is whose. Now, if you Control L, highlight the URL, it highlights the link above your slide, and Control C, copy. Now, that only works if you're using the web version. If you're on an iPad, you cannot get the specific link to their slide, but I still am able to do collaborative slides with students even if they're on iPads. Just a few of my keyboard shortcut tricks and other things aren't quite as cool, but I mean, iPads are great. So, all right, so I'm able to jump down to where they are. I can see that Michelle's favorite number is 85. I am going to put my Bitmoji on her slide. She knows I'm paying attention. It's faster to give feedback with dragging the Bitmoji. And then if I need to, I can click. I like to use the keyboard shortcut Control Alt M. Control-Alt-M, Command Option on a Mac. Control-Alt-M inserts a comment. It's so important they put 2 M's in there. Alice, get to work. I don't want just me doing the feedback in the comments. If we want to talk about critical thinking, if you want to get all 4 C's for free, I use one Google Slides, and I share the slides with all my students, that they all add a slide, put the name in the speaker notes. We are collaborating. We are having an opportunity to do creative thinking, because I've got a multimedia space that allows them to maybe not answer in the same way that their neighbor answers. They're clearly communicating their ideas, so I should be able to look at their slide and know that they understand the concept. And then critical thinking comes from peer evaluation. To critique the reasoning of others. That's not good job. A valid critique and feedback, which is something you have to teach kids how to do, is possibly DOK too. It's higher critical thinking to give feedback than it is to do the thing in the first place. So if you give kids a DOK1 task, how can you upgrade the worksheet? One way is to have the kids teach them how to give good peer feedback. Instead of good job, they explain specifically why it's good and specifically what they can improve on. It's not easy to teach them that, but it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. They will understand it better if they can give good critiques of student work, even if we're talking about DOK1 basic questions that I asked in the first place. I can tell they're engaged and that they are participating if they are giving feedback. Now, I like to have them take screenshots of their feedback and turn in their screenshots, or they can click on the 3 dots on the comment. It says link to this comment. Now, if you're a Google Classroom user, they'll have to paste all of these links, like the Control-L, highlight the URL, Control-C copy, the link to their slide or the link to their comment will have to be in the private comments. They can't link to it in the assignment where it says add link, because they can only add links to things they own. And by definition, collaborative slides, I own. Okay, so that's method number 1. So I just share with them. First thing I do before I share with them is I use the file menu, version history, and I name the current version. Okay. Second method is to use Google Classroom. So when I'm in Google Classroom, load it up, girl. I know better. I should have restarted my computer before we started this webinar. It's coming. It wants to. It's thinking about it. Which Wi-Fi am I on? Yeah, that's the good one. Come on. I need to purge some of my Google Classrooms. I'm at the point that it's starting to choke. It's mad. All right, I got this sample class. I'm going to go to classwork. I'm going to create an assignment. And when I create an assignment, I have a choice to add or create. Either way, I can add from Google Drive any slides that I have, right? Come on. Here we go. I just add my slides. Now the default is view. We're not trying to view. We're trying to collaborate. The middle option is collaborate. So not students can view, not the bottom one, which is make a giant pile of paperwork for yourself. That sounds terrible. No, thank you. I try to avoid that. Like 20% of my assignments or less to be piles of paperwork for myself. So that middle option is students can collaborate. Students can edit the file, means we all can edit the file. I'm trying to get Google to change this to students can collaborate. So if you can do the little question mark and issue a report, an issue, or request a feature. If you could request, change students can edit file to students can collaborate. This more clearly tells the teacher that it is collaborating with students. It's really not worded that clearly. I have a lot of teachers, the first time that they're using Google Classroom, they think that that's the one that's making a copy per student, and then all of a sudden the students have typed all over their original documents and they didn't mean to. It doesn't clearly communicate, but collaborate with. So if you would, please often Like every day, send them like, hey, where's that students can collaborate option? That's the middle one. So when students can edit. The other way to do it, just go quick and dirty, is go create slides. I like blank slides. Why make a template? I'd rather sleep in. The student engagement comes from students actively participating, not from me getting up early and making my Google Slides in advance. So most of the time, to be honest with you, I just use the create button and I create slides. They are completely blank. And did I give this an assignment number? I did not. You know, that's my best tip, is number everything with a 3-digit number and a hashtag. And then on the slides that it makes, I like to match it. Add a slide, put your name in the speaker notes. This is my happy place. And I switch it from view to students can edit file. And I assign. Okay, method number 3 is if you use alicekeeler.com/reusegc. This is like how I manage all of my Google Classrooms. So for every class that I have, I create an alicekeeler.com/reusegc, and I create my assignments from this spreadsheet, because then it allows me to control those assignments, to auto grade the assignments, and do some other things if I made them from the spreadsheet. So I make all my assignments from the reusegc spreadsheet, and one of the assignment types says collaborative slides, and it automatically creates an assignment in your Google Classroom for you, and it automatically adds a Google slide, and it automatically makes those slides anyone can edit file, or students can collaborate, right? So it just does all those steps for you all at once, which is pretty great. Method number 4 is if you don't have Google Classroom. If you don't have Google Classroom, use alicekeeler.com/makeslides. So what that lets you do is you have a roster of your students, you have their email addresses, and then you use the menu. I coded it, so we got to go up to the menu, and it will create a slides and explicitly share it with everyone on your roster. This only saves you a few seconds, really. The alternative is I just create some Google Slides and I copy and paste my roster into the, the share button. Or you can have the spreadsheet where you have your roster all of the time, and then you can just keep making slides from this same spreadsheet. So I don't know how much time it saves you, but it saves you a little bit of time, is to make collaborative Google Slides that share with students. And the reason why we like it shared with them is because then when they edit, it has their name. And my last method is method number 5, is first slide is becoming like my new bestie. What first slide does, alicekeeler.com/first slide. At a basic level, what it does is says, okay, I did give every student their own Google Slides. I do that sometimes. I do 20% or less. Have every student have their own document. But I don't want to open them. I still don't want to open them. So what first slide will do is it'll grab all the text off of their slides so I can read their work without opening up all their slides. I can give them feedback and push it back. So that's a huge time saver. But I've just added a feature in for breakout rooms. And if you go to the breakout rooms, actually this part in there called Pile of Slides. And the Pile of Slides has the breakout rooms feature. And what that allows me to do is I can create a Google Slides, and then it has a button in the side that says students can edit. So I can turn on edit access to the group slides, and then I can no edit, turn it off at the end of the activity. So they're only collaborating during the class time activity, and then I can quickly turn off the edit access at the end. So those are my methods. I didn't go through the other ones because I only had 30 minutes. So the key here is you and your students are on the same slides with edit access. That we realize that it is a process and it takes time to learn how to collaborate. Just like it takes time to learn how to line up at the door and walk quietly to the library. It's worth the effort. And ultimately, my students learn more and I have less paperwork, and that's a win. And always make sure you're using file, version history, and you name the current version template before you share it with students. So if you need to, you just roll it right back to the way you had it. In fact, I'll use the version history every so often. If I'm asking a question, they add a slide, and I ask a question, they add a slide. I'll use the version history so I can put it back to whichever state that I wanted it to, just in case some kids do some shenanigans. Okay, you can have this for sure because you already have it. Didn't you just add a slide in there? Here is the slides.
Yeah, I was logged in twice. I think I got kicked off once. So, okay. Thank
Nope.
you.
All right, any questions?
When you have them share their Google slide, Alice, to the Google Classroom, you have them share the link?
Yeah, they just copy the link to their slide and they put it in the private comments. They figure that out pretty quickly. I usually don't have too many problems with them doing that.
And you don't have them make it editable or anything because it already is, right?
Well, I own it. And that's why they can't do add link. So that's the first part. Like, well, let me turn it in. Well, let me turn it in. I'm like, I know. That's why I said put it in the private comments.
Okay.
Whatever you do, do it often. If you're going to do collaborative Google Slides, you do it at least once a week. And I argue every day. Every single day, you should have all the students together on the same slides. It's like bell ringer, even just like an icebreaker, just a fun activity, share a picture from your Instagram, some way to get to know kids. Like there's some reason today we're all going to use collaborative Google Slides. I create a slides, I give them edit access, and I just want to ask a question. They all add their answer to the same slides. I can see everyone's responses. It's like clickers. It's like, where I can see the responses quickly, but it's a more visual platform than just using a Google form. So I would argue like every day, even if it's just for 1 minute, always have a Google Slides that students contribute to. There's a lot of benefits to that.
So Alice, can you have the students, like, can we use, so is this like a collaborative tool? Like you can have, let's say, a warm-up math problem. Like, let's say you can have like a geometry problem or something. And as long as you just share that with the students and give them editable, if you give them the editing rights, then they can all contribute to that one slide. Is that what you're saying?
And I teach geometry. So in that case, I can't necessarily have them start from blank because I might need to have that whole geometry thing on there. Let me see if I have any screenshots of geometry. There's a good chance that I do, but I don't. So let's just pretend this is geometry, even though it's not.
Okay.
That is code. Okay. So this is a triangle or something. So I'll put that on there, and then you can duplicate. And then everyone can choose a slide, put their name in the speaker notes for the one they're working on. And yeah, it could be a little bit of chaos at first just because it's not a natural skill, but I still don't want to put their name on it because if I put their name on it, I'm always doing that. I'd rather take a little bit of time for them to learn, like, hey, you can tell if someone's on that slide. They put their name in the speaker notes. That slide's taken. Go get another one. Here's my favorite phrase. Slides are free. Make a new one. It's cute. Slides are free. Make a new one. Right now I've got this where it's loose on here, but in particular for geometry, like I love those ones that's a tangle of lines, and then it's like a puzzle. You got to use like, this is a linear pair, so I know they had 180. This is part of a triangle, so I subtract that one from 180, or this one's part of a quadrilateral, so I subtract from 360, these kinds of things. And so in that case, I might go to background, and I upload the image from the background. But I'm gonna show you what I do for that. I do not upload the image from the background because it'll stretch it to fill the whole background, and then it's stretched out. So what I'll do is I put on one slide, I do file, download, I download it as a PNG, the slide with the picture on it. Okay, so I just downloaded it. Now I'm gonna add a blank slide. Now I'm gonna do background, and the background image, you see I just dragged that up from the download bar? So what I do is I make a slide, I design the slide, I download the slide as a picture, and then I add the picture of the slide as the background because then the proportions are right. And then it's locked down. So now I'll duplicate, Control D, enough of them that every student can have their own. And I still want them to put their name in the speaker notes. I don't make them make it bigger. I'm just doing that for your benefit.
So Alice, this may be a dumb question, I'm not sure, but so because I'm kind of new, but so when I do the one slide, how is it that I can let them all get their own? You hit Control. Did you say something?
Control, duplicate. I mean, you can just Control C, Control V a whole bunch of times,
I
but
don't
I
want to
think great life skill is just knowing Control D is duplicate. So you see
Okay.
my Bitmoji, Control D duplicate, Control D duplicate, Control D duplicate. Your life just got better just knowing that one keyboard shortcut. You'll be amazed how often you use it on lots of different things. Control
So
D,
what
duplicate.
I
And then
duplicate how many times?
if I click on the frame itself over in the film strip, you see this? I'm on slide 14, and I Control D duplicate. I'm duplicating the frame.
Okay. Oh,
But
wow.
I try not to do that very often. I want them to be blank. I want to be able to add a blank Google Slides. I want to hit snooze 3 times. I want to like roll in with my coffee as the bell's ringing and be ready to interact with students, not because I spent all night making something or that I got up early, but because I'm going to throw out some prompts and they're going to add things to the slides and throw out some more prompts, they add some more things to the slides, and we're going to interact together.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
The kids, I do this in my class. We just did question storms. They're pretty fast at picking it up.
They are.
And you can assign them numbers. You could just, I just go around and say your slide 1, slide 2, if I'm on time crunch and I don't want to deal with them using the same slides. And then they just write down, they just use the slide number on the side if you've duplicated. That's
So I would argue you're just not doing it often enough. So do it with them more often, because everyone being on the same slides really has so many positive benefits, and they're going to learn what you do frequently. If you do it infrequently, then it feels like you're starting over from scratch, giving the directions again. And that's not what my advice that I'm giving you about collaborative slides. That's my life advice. Whatever you're doing, do it often.
For the screenshots, do you have them put the images in as an image or into a slide, or are you linking them when they put the feedback screenshots into the assignment?
I have a general rule that whatever they do, they take a screenshot. So from literally day one of class, whatever we do, I say take a screenshot, turn it into Google Classroom. So they just use the add create button, and you can upload up to 20 files. So on every assignment, every activity, whether or not I put it in the directions, trust me, they know that, Keeler, am I putting screenshots? I'm like, I don't know. Are you breathing? I don't say that to them. I'm just making the joke here with you guys. But I'm like, yeah, doesn't hurt. Show me you were participating. Show me what you did. So if we do quizzes, if we do Pear Deck, even if we're doing a Google Doc, I don't really care what it is. It is a lot easier for me to load up and see a screenshot in the Google Classroom feedback tool. So that's just, and like I said, whatever you do it often. So I just do it all the time, and then there's no confusion, because then that's the rule all the time. My other rule all the time is they should leave me a note in the private comments. Tell me what you learned, summarize the activity, tell me what challenges you had. I want them to be in the habit of that, especially if they turn in work late. They got to private comment. But the reflection piece, where they explain what they're turning into me, helps to further the learning process. It's better for them, and it's helpful for me to see what they put as their summary. And a lot of times that's enough for me to know that they participated, and I can get through it a lot faster.
And where do
Alice,
they put this?
go ahead. It's okay.
What do you got, Kristen?
When they turn in the screenshot, do they load it on Google Docs or just turn in the screenshot?
Turn in the screenshots. I mean, sometimes I'll have them put it into a Google Slides to pull all their screenshots together, but I want to focus on them doing whatever the activity was, and usually I just don't have time. And then it's fine. It works out good for me, because the feedback tool, I can see all their screenshots real quick and give them a comment. It gives me a really tiny thumbnail first, so sometimes I just don't even, I'm like, yep, I can see that, and I can give them credit. Donna, you had a question?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, we don't use Google Classroom. I wanted to try to learn how to do it on my own. We actually use Schoology. So I don't really care for the platform that much. I just wish we had Schoology so much. It seems like Schoology was so much easier. I'm still becoming familiar with Schoology, but I guess they would just like upload their assignment to me, screenshot, and just send it to Schoology.
Well, Donna, obviously I don't use multiple platforms.
Yeah, it's weird.
Google Classroom. So I used Schoology once years ago. I'm positive they've made a lot of updates since then. So I'm sure whatever you do in Google Classroom, there is something similar-ish.
Right. Okay. All right. I like Google. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. Any other last minute questions?
Thank you so much. I'll try.
Okay. And in 15 minutes, we're transitioning to the next webinar, which Donna, I know you don't think you want to do spreadsheets, but you want to do spreadsheets.
Okay, because I know nothing. I do need to learn spreadsheets because I feel like I'm I feel like I'm terrible. I'm afraid.
Life-changing, Donna, it's life-changing. Like my whole life motto is the answer is always a spreadsheet.
Okay, all right. Okay, that starts at 3, right?